From the Hanging with Web Show TV's Bargain Basement Studio in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, it's Pillow Talk with Willow Schuyler.
Will you take me to Winnipeg?
I will, someday. Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, Winnipeg.
Now what's this guy doing up here in Manitoba?
He was holding the map up.
Every salvage mission that's been through this system has disappeared. Even those old pirates out at Winnipeg Drift say it's cursed.
Cursed. Winnipeg's got a great ballet. You'll have a good time, I swear to God.
Sweet guinea pig of Winnipeg! They've taken over our company!
Balderdash! I never agreed to that!
I should have stayed in Winnipeg, you know? I had a nice gallery, 3 paintings in the wall.
Are you kidding? And you look back. Born home, Quebec. Drafted out of the juniors in the 5th round to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Played for a year with the Leafs, then traded to the Winnipeg Jets, then to Calgary, then to Boston.
Wow.
So, Winnipeg must get pretty cold up there.
That's it! Back to Winnipeg!
And the fandom of Winnipeg just keeps growing and growing. All right, so welcome to another edition of Willow's Pillow Talk. With me today is Nick, I'm their co-host, I should be saying. Nicole from Reels and Heels. Ivy, me and her met at Dreen. I used to work with her brother, so I was destined to be her friend. we met at a Relay for Life for cancer care. Allie and I met at one of the pinup pageants last year. Or the only pinup pageant, but Jerome. Well, you guys should know who Jerome is by now. One of the hosts from Saturday Morning Cartoons, and the new one,
Classic Television Smackdown.
Thank you. And Madame Cure is my good friend Charlotte from KeyCon eons ago. We've known each other for a while.
Yeah. I think it's almost 10 years.
Yes. They're doing an online KeyCon. Well, it's May long weekend, so they're. If you guys go on Discord, and search up KeyCon, join their fun. It's great conversations. But yeah, why are we here? Yes, we are here because there's been quite the rash of movement on social media as of late. We've all been dealing with it. And it definitely doesn't help with the fact that I'm pissing people off on YouTube.
I like what you're doing.
I like it too. Yeah, I definitely like it.
It's entertaining to see.
Let me just say, it's sweeping far and wide. Because my kids were like, "Where were you?" And I was like, "I got my second dose of the vaccine." And they went, "So, does the magnet stick to your arm?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Well, there's like iron or something in the vaccine and the magnet will stick to you." And I'm like, "Okay." So I took my super powerful magnet off my board and I went, "Okay, look." And it dropped on the floor and I'm like, "See?" Oh.
That's just not fair.
This is stuff that children can easily debunk, okay?
I want to know when you became an influencer.
But I'm wondering that too. Apparently I'm getting paid.
Did you ever get a little worried though? Did you ever get a little worried when you start to believe a little bit of the hype? Because you're like, wait, maybe it did stick a little. Like, that couldn't have possibly been it. Like, I got it in my head. They got it in my head. Like a 13-year-old.
Guys, easily use spirit gum to make anything stick to your skin.
That's the most heartbreaking thing about this whole conspiracy theories. That was the one I was hoping was true, because who doesn't want to be Magneto from X-Men, right?
I'm bringing a Vita Ray generator my next shot so I can look like Chris Evans.
Yeah.
I got a message from one of my friends. I'm missing conventions. I'm thinking about dressing up for my vaccine. I'm like, yes, please. And I convinced her to do Wonder Woman. So
great idea. I am totally doing that for my second dose. I'm borrowing that idea.
I'm actually going to be wearing my my sash for my next dose.
Oh, beautiful. And while we're at it, would you be able to explain to us what the sash is for?
Okay, so my official title is Madame Cuir Montréal 2019, or Miss Leather Montreal 2019, 2020, 2021, and into the foreseeable future. I am an ambassador for the leather community and the kink community here in Montreal. I am also... I'm the person that is one of the faces. There's 4 of us. We are the faces that are easily recognizable in crowds because of we're not afraid to be out there with regards to our kinks. Like I'm a bootblack. It's actually tattooed on my shoulder, and as such, I do leather care. So I teach people about leather care. My platform was actually inclusion, and it was also equality. So when I ran for my title, I talked about how I was going to make the community stronger, and how I was also going to make the community more inclusive, because I've noticed that a lot of people of color, Asians, anyone that has a different skin tone than what mine is, doesn't really have a voice in our community. So my goal was to lift those voices up and to talk about the struggles that people face.
Excellent. And I'm in the kink community. I know there's... I don't know what you guys all like, how you guys deal with harassment as a community base, but I know you guys get a lot of harassment from people who don't understand the community.
Yeah.
And what's your way of dealing with that?
When I'm out in the public eye and I'm representing Montreal, most of the time I will smile and I will kill them with kindness. When I'm not representing Montreal, so I'm just myself, I'm just Charlotte, I will speak my mind, and it bites. But honestly, I've actually had a lot of harassment because of my size. I'm a plus size woman. I've also had a lot of harassment because people perceived that I was straight, and I'm like, no. I'm pan. I had to, like, there were numerous times where I had to come out to people when it shouldn't have been any of their business. I'm one of their faces. Like, I got up on the stage and I ran. So I've faced a lot of harassment, not only being a femme in the community, but also being plus size. The fact that I don't speak a lot of French. I'm in classes right now taking French, but I honestly don't, French is not my first language.
And you live out in Montreal right now, right?
I do, yeah. So, I live in Montreal. The new bill that just came out is a complete and utter dumpster fire. It's ridiculous. Bill 101, which is our language law, sucks. Especially when you're trying to access services like mental health services. They talk to you in French, and I'm like, parlez-vous anglais, s'il vous plaît? And most of the time I get people that are like, but you live in Quebec, why do you not speak French? It's
the one part of Canada that has like it's almost very it's very stuck up, and if you don't speak French, they will turn their noses up at you.
Yeah, stuck in the 1950s is what I like to call it, where men were the breadwinners and women just stood there and looked pretty. That's not the case.
And a lot of our BS rules and regulations are passed because of Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're dealing with in Canada.
Yep.
We're inclusive to them, but they're not inclusive to us.
No.
And I'm sorry for that.
That's okay.
No, you know, there was that whole talk about separating from Canada, but the only problem is they wanted to keep using our money. So it's like, well, you can't have it both ways. Sorry.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. Yeah.
Ivy, you being a cosplayer, you do mostly. I know you do a lot of other cosplays, but you're known for your Poison Ivy.
Absolutely.
And you do a fantastic job, by the way.
Thank you.
And how do you deal with the harassment that you get from your costuming?
I try to play the water off a duck's back. That being said, I get numerous types of harassment. It's hard to describe. It's like a 360. I get obviously the sexual.
Mm-hmm.
I get the other side of it, which is, well, and anybody who's seen my Poison Ivy, especially my more daring versions of her, well, you paint yourself like that with barely any cover-ups. You deserve it. So there's that harassment. You deserve to have men send you photos of different parts of them. And when there's another, and it's not just men. When I became more public knowledge, I've always been open about who I am, but it became more public knowledge of my orientation.
Yeah.
And suddenly I had women doing it to me as well. So,
oh my God.
Okay. Well, I'm okay with you hugging me at the cons, but I don't want to see what you're endowed with. I'm sorry. So, and then there's the bullying from the people who don't understand what it's like to be, I like to call it a geek.
Yeah.
Loud and proud. And then there's, because the way I look, I'm quite physically active by accident. I eat healthy because my health took a dive many years ago, and I decided to change my life for the better. So I have geeks who look a certain way also trying to bully me when I'm like, no, I'm here to be your friend. Like, let's all get along. So it's I try to do the water off a duck's back, but sometimes you just have to clap back and be like, oh heck no. That's enough.
Exactly. And you recently got blocked on Facebook for posting your.
Oh my goodness!
Like, are you in an actual ban right now, or
no? Facebook did something very surprising. So first, I was obviously, and this happens in waves. This is on the sexual assault side. I recently announced that once the pandemic's over, I'm going to start working with some photographers I've worked with before to start doing, whether it was cosplay or basic modeling, just go back to it. It's all going to be paid until my family and I get back on our feet. That being said, it came in a wave of suddenly I had lots of people wanting to be friends with me, messaging me, which was fine. Mm-hmm. Most of them were respectful. Hey, how are you? I would like to get to know you better because I'm a fan of your work and some of the stuff. The rest was random photos of inappropriate photos. They were sending me pornography. I'm not sure what I can say that won't get this banned.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reporting it. I was telling them, oh, heck no. Like, this is something I say, if you're uncomfortable with it, say something. If it continues, start screaming. So I was telling these people off. I was reporting them. I was taking screenshots, and like all other models have been doing, I was putting certain filters on them, so not everything was showing, but at least you could get the gist of what these messages were sending, and exposing these people for what they were doing to the general public. Facebook decided to ban me, put me on a 7-day ban.
Wow.
Now, that being said, I had several friends who were super smart on navigating Facebook, because social media happens to be their job, helped me find a way to contact Facebook and be like, look, this is what happened. This is my handle. I'm the victim here. I was trying to defend myself and expose these sickos for what they're doing, so others could be warned ahead of time, and maybe possibly find those profiles and block them before they become an issue, if they were going to become an issue. And 3 days into the ban, I got a message from Facebook. They actually apologized to me.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Obviously, their algorithms are messed up, and once they reviewed the process, they apologized me and took my ban down. And they just said, just be slightly more careful. Here's different filters you can use so we don't freak out, but we support what you're doing, because women here who have worked here experience this too, and we believe in what you're doing. So
oh my god,
it was insane.
Jerome, I'm curious to hear your take on all this. Like, harassment isn't just a woman issue; it's all sexes, all races.
So I'm going to come clean on a lot of this. Okay, when I was younger, like 18, I was the groping hands every so often. Okay, I'm not going to deny my past. I learned my lesson. Mm-hmm. Okay, I was wrong and I did it, and I was also back in my day, back when I was there in the 70s, it was bullying. It was basically physical bullying and name calling and all that. And I still suffer some injuries from those days, and this is like 50 years later. When I hear about the sexual stuff from the women, I'm horrified, because I know my own past, which is I regret to this day. And I have learned my lesson, and I've learned that if I'm going to go, like, say I wanted to look, I'm a costumer also. I'm a master level costumer. And if I were to go up to Ivy and want to look at her costume up close, the first thing you do is you ask permission.
Yes.
Thank you.
You don't grab in certain areas of the costume. Okay, I found out the hard way once. Because I'm a costumer, I'm looking at her seams. Okay, as a costumer, I'm looking at the seams of your costume. If you're, depending upon what you're wearing, because to me, if as a costumer, if you got straight seams, then that's much more impressive than most costumes. If a person can do straight seams, you're looking and going, now there's a costumer. Anyway, it's off. Sidetrack. Didn't mean to get there. But back in the day when I was growing up, there was physical violence for being a geek. Okay. You would learn to sit by yourself in the lunchroom. You would not take out a book on the bus, because they would either take it out and rip it or whatever. You would learn to hide. Okay, because of it. And my first convention was out of college, and I felt like, suddenly this is my people. But one of the things I found when I hit my 20s was I own it. I own my geekness. You want to call me a name? Great. I own that word. You now do not have power over me. And that's what happened on my side. I see guys today still doing stupid stuff, and I've called a couple of them on it, because it horrifies me, and even more so now that I have a daughter. Okay. Yeah. So I have evolved and I have changed over time, because I got smarter. I got smacked a few times by the right people too. That helps also. It helps that the right people, not only did they smack me, then they grabbed me aside and explained what I did wrong. Okay. And at that point, that was a change for me. And like I said, I was young, I was stupid, I learned my lesson. And I got to say, I am horrified that this is still going on today in the community.
Thank you for that. But yeah, no, I appreciate the fact that you come out and actually told us about that, and the fact that you're learning to change your ways and you accept your responsibility. I appreciate you being able to tell us all this.
I mean, my saying, how I feel doesn't impact it until people realize that I've made the change because I was that jerk when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the key there, because people can change.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. But again, I am horrified at what you guys are telling me. That today, 2021, we're still having this happen in this community.
It definitely got worse with social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's allowing people to have more of thank you. That's the word that I was looking for. And like hide behind a screen, and we don't know who they really are because they're not doing it to our faces. They're messaging us and
keyboard courage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nicole, you're a teacher, and I don't know if you've experienced harassment from your students or from the parents of your students. Like,
more so probably kind of two places. I worked in retail and service for a long time before I became a teacher. And so a lot of that was I just learned to just either be one of the guys and, talk just as much trash as they could put out, because I could. I learned how. And so if you're going to talk to me like that, then I will make as many comments about the size of your penis as I need to. But I learned pretty early on that I needed to defend myself. And being a bigger girl and not necessarily being top heavy, but rather bottom heavy, there was a lot of... there have always been a lot of ass jokes as far as anything that's been, whatever. And it's like, I grew up mainly in worked in the areas of Flint, Michigan. So a lot of the people that I came into daily contact with were not white. And so a lot of that attention came from the other groups of people. And it's a stereotype, yes, very much so, but it is also true because I was the white girl that got a whole lot of attention for having a ghetto booty. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I just either learned how to roll with it or exit stage left when I needed to. And, fast forward now is I'm just not, I don't care to listen to people say things that they shouldn't say in front of me, but I also don't have a filter either. So I'll put you in your place rather quickly. My biggest concern, about 3 years ago, I think there were still conversations amongst 13-year-olds about my rear, but there are often times when I'll look them dead in the face and say, you really should get some material because I put pants on it every day. I know. So they think it's a joke, but also I'm like, you have to realize that there are some things that you shouldn't say out loud.
Yeah.
So it becomes a teaching place. Recently though, there's been, with the rise of social media and the fact that everybody is so damn brave behind a keyboard, that they don't know what they should and shouldn't do. So they have no one telling them that this is not the proper decorum when you're face to face with a person. Yeah. So, and this isn't just sexual. It's just not understanding that no means no, but this is gender orientation, it's what color you are. I mean, like all of these things. Like I have kids that are fully telling me that it is okay to use a hard R on the N word with their black friends.
No.
Because you're white and you can't. Like, it will never be okay. But he's my friend. Then you would never call him that if you understood the true weight of that word. Like, I don't understand. Like, so when they want to say something to me, like, how am I supposed to defend you then? Like, if you think that's okay, then I can't defend you. And then I'm just talking to no one because you're not really listening. So really the concern recently has now become more of the orientation and the pronouns and the all of the so much that's going on with our kids today is that they feel like they have to grow up so fast and they got to keep up with everybody else because of social media.
Yeah.
And at least when I was a kid and I got off the school bus and Mark Pascal wasn't in my face telling me that I was heifer, then I could go home and I could cry in my pillow and I still had a mom that gave a shit about me and said, you don't need to worry about what he says. And there was at least an 8-hour gap till the next time I had to get on the bus and see his ugly face. Like there was a turnoff. Like I could unplug myself from everything, but there's that ding, 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 ding. And that constant, like, it never goes away.
Yeah.
So our kids today never have that. But, I've taken it on all sides. And it's like, I'm just trying to be a good mom to teach my kids that you're going to be a decent human being. You're going to be a decent man who understands that no means no and you can't just do that. Like, I understand boundaries and I understand all of those things. So you have to be the person to teach your kids that.
Yeah.
They can't just see it online and figure that that's just the way it's really going to be.
And do you feel like there should be a course in school similar to sort of like health class, but where it actually teaches you internet etiquette?
They have them. They have them, but they're these short, tiny courses that aren't very meaningful, and the kids they just see it as another hoop they have to jump through. So most of them don't show up, and when they do, they just sit there and make jokes about what's going on because truthfully they're poor planned, and they're not engaging, and they don't get people to understand. So you have to have a kid that put her stuff on Snapchat and has to deal with the screenshots 3 years later. Like, you have to actually have examples of that. And then you have to listen to these girls say, I would never do that. But then they turn around and do it a year later.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a difference between what a lot of people say is asking for it and not understanding what it could be considered or construed as. And I think that a lot of our girls have no idea what that means, and probably our boys too. Like, you sent an unsolicited picture of your anatomy and girls are going to run with that. I mean, look at what happened to Chris Evans.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't unsolicited. I mean, he meant to, but oops.
Yeah. I mean, we all made our jokes about it, and it went around, unfortunately. But I mean, the guy still has his job. The guy still is Captain America.
Right.
Well, the thing I think with Chris Evans, though, he didn't deny it. He took ownership like seconds after it happened, didn't he?
Yep.
Unlike a lot of these idiot guys that do this stuff that try to deny it or something. I mean, I mean, I'm not trying to defend the guy. I'm just, the comments of how it happened. I'm not sure how I felt about it. I'm still mixed up on it.
But there was a difference in the way he put it out there to the way
he was like in the middle of a live chat and he shared the picture. Like, he shared the screen of his phone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, I think as much as we want to say there's a place you can put pictures like that, which I don't know where that place is on my phone. Like, if my kids accidentally open my phone, I'm pretty sure there's nothing too terribly incriminating on my phone. But But that's not going to be. That can't be the first picture that you would open in your gallery. Like,
no,
John Holmes, I am not. Okay.
Allie, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are part of. You're a very out and proud Native, right?
Yeah.
Aboriginal. Sorry, what word do you prefer? Aboriginal, Native?
I'm good with either. I think it's like a person-to-person basis.
Oh, okay. I don't want to be disrespectful in any way, so it's I want to definitely learn from. Yeah, I'm always willing to learn from other cultures. And hey, what?
I know the safest one is Indigenous.
Okay.
But as for Native and Aboriginal, that's a person-to-person basis. I spent until my grandfather died. I spent a lot of time around him, and he was. I'm a Native. I was born Native. I'll die a Native. So. I
love that. And I know that you're dealing with a lot of, I see that you're dealing with a lot of harassment from people as well over online crap.
Yeah,
So it's.
When I put it out there, because like, I've never been ashamed of it, but I didn't go announcing it. And then I was like, you know what, like, I'm very proud of my culture. I want to learn more of my culture, so I'm going to throw it out there. And then came the harassment. Oh, you're too white. You're obviously not full blood, so you're not really one. Or I've been told you're not Native several times because I do pole fitness. I've been harassed for that because real Native women wouldn't do this. And it's like you're not even a Native person. Why are you coming at me for this? Some of my photos on Instagram are like a little more risque, but nothing's showing. But it's like. Now that I came out as Native, it's like, oh, you're a sexy Indian. It's like, how is this a compliment?
Oh my God!
This is not a compliment. This is embarrassing for you.
Yeah.
And it's a frequent issue I'm seeing, and when I talk to other Native women, it's a very big problem where if we post anything other than like buttoned up to here and like long baggy pants, it's so you're a sexy Indian. And it's like this is not a compliment. Like, why does it have to become that? Like, maybe we just wanted to post a picture where we looked good, where we felt good about ourselves. Why does it have to open up now? Why do we have to start having our inbox go off with this stuff?
And when you say that you're into pole fitness, like, I mean, what does that have? Like, I wanted to learn pole, like do the pole fitness stuff, and anybody can do it. It's not a racial thing that there's something against having certain people doing it. It's a class that's very inclusive. Last I checked.
Like I've never heard of any rules that prevent anyone from doing it, and it's like. It's very empowering. Like I'm starting to learn how to flip upside down and hold myself up on there. And after a workout like that, you feel so confident in yourself. It is extremely empowering. Like, I'm not huge, but I grew up with a beanpole cousin. Beanpole, like always super skinny, super fit, and my weight fluctuates constantly based on what I eat because I also have stomach problems. So like I eat something, I bloat right up. Since starting pole fitness, though, I'm starting to accept that that's my body. That's the way it is, and that's fine.
Yeah. And like when I know that there's been issues with hearing people talk about cultural appropriation. And like I go to the Forks and I see all the great stuff that from artists, of Indigenous artists, and I was given a dream catcher by one of my customers one time, and she had actually made it. She was indigenous. She moved, and so I know that that's a culture thing where indigenous people will give you dream catchers. But I don't know the whole story behind all that. But apparently, if a white person were to make dream catchers, that's against the rules in some way. Like, how do you navigate around all that, all the cultural appropriation stuff that get thrown at you?
Like, that one's a little harder because, like, there are people who will say, because I'm mixed, I'm not enough. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, it's like, but who are you to decide who is enough and who is not enough? Like,
Yeah.
that's just committing violence against each other at that point. I know, like, with the dream catchers, the biggest thing there is because most often non-native people don't know anything about the actual practice behind it. They don't know the story behind it. They don't know the proper meanings or how you have to make it a certain way for it to actually work. So it's part cultural appropriation, part it's not going to do what it's supposed to do because you don't know how to make it correctly.
Yeah. And where, like, do you practice any of the tribal beliefs?
The ones I do know, and I am making an effort to learn more of them. My grandfather did teach me a bit before he passed. Unfortunately, not everything he knew, because it turned out he was a medicine man, so like he knew a lot.
Oh, wow.
But we didn't know that he was even a medicine man. But I do practice what I do know.
Excellent. I definitely want to come back to you on that. I'm very curious about all that. So Jerome, when you see people talking about this online and like all the harassment going on, like what do you want to say to guys?
What I want to do is reach through the damn computer and smack them upside the head. Tell them to stop acting stupid. That's the first thing I want to say. But you can't really, because that's just going to, unfortunately, in the world of social media, that's just going to bring more into it. So unfortunately, you have to educate rather than, as my dad used to do, smack me upside the head. And I use that term a lot, having had that happen to me. But you really just want to tell these guys to stop it. But they're not going to, because they feel that the screen and the keyboard gives them a shield. Okay, and how many of them are using aliases? Okay, I've run into that a number of times. Or better yet, in one group that I'm with, which has other legal issues going on for something else, a person will get booted from Facebook because of it, and then come back under an alias. And they'll do this multiple times.
Yeah.
But the only thing I can say is I'm not great with the online stuff. I'll be honest. Okay, Willow, you've seen my rants about other things that I've posted. I try to be fair about it, but I don't really get into a lot of that sort of harassment debate. If I'm in person, they're going to be grabbed by the scruff of the neck, and I'm going to pull them aside and give them a lecture. I'm not above that, doing that. Will it get me in trouble? More than likely. And it has in the past. But in the end, I'll give you an example. We, I'm a Trekkie, and I run a Star Trek group, and we were at one of the big conventions here in Boston. And a couple of the cosplayers came up to us. We talked to them. I was commenting on their costumes, and I noticed a couple of these knucklehead kids were following them around and whispering and all that. At which point, I took one of the girls aside and said, "Look, this is your safe spot," and which was behind our table. And I said, "You need a safe spot. You come here right away.
Yeah.
And nobody will bother you." And she spread the word, and we had about half a dozen girls show up at our table. And that was what I've spread to people at conventions, especially like artists or dealers, is be the safe spot.
Yeah.
Let let them come. If they need a place to be safe, let them. Okay, it does nothing but help the world. You know, and that's one of the only things I can really do, other than basically give a lecture, which 9 times out of 10 is not really going to work, because they don't respect me. If I was somebody they respected, it might work. But in most cases, kids don't respect me because I'm somebody they don't know. But if you give the cosplayers that need it a safe spot, that actually has more power than most people think.
I actually wanted to chime in on that. So when there were in-person events happening pre-COVID,
I was going to say millions of years ago.
Yeah, millions of years ago. We had a 101 course. Okay, so this was basically, we called it the Taste of BDSM. So there were a bunch of us that were wandering around. We all had armbands on. And we told everybody at the beginning of the night, if you are uncomfortable, if your date is not going well, if you just need a timeout, come find one of us and we will sit with you. We will protect you. We are your safe space.
Yeah.
And I actually implemented that when a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, who's actually a title holder in Ottawa, had a panic attack at Pride. And I literally grabbed him out of the parade, and I took him off to the side. I'm wearing my sash. I'm in a corset and boots. Like, 1, nobody's gonna mess with me. And 2, it was showing him that he had that space where nobody would touch him, nobody was gonna surround him. I gave him a drink of water, and I asked him, when you feel right, we will rejoin. But until you feel good, we're not going anywhere. And he looked at me afterwards and he said, thank you. Because he needed that space to kind of decompress, because Pride is loud. If anybody has ever been to a gay Pride, it is loud, it is flamboyant, it is bright. And for somebody that's on the spectrum, that can be really overwhelming. And like Jerome was saying, having that safe space for somebody that's found it sensory overload, has experienced harassment, is just not feeling safe, is a massive relief to a lot of people, knowing that space is there for them to go. And having the word spread is a massive thing too. And one thing I actually wanted to suggest, Jerome, is the next time you have a table, literally on, because I know that you guys have curtains behind you, you can actually post a big sign that says, I am a safe space.
Yeah, we're working on that with some of the local conventions, to basically talk to all the dealers and the artists at these, especially the Comic Cons. We're doing that.
Such a great idea, Jerome.
Yeah, we simply because, like I said, and again, a lot of this, I've become aware of this as I got older. Okay, and again, when you're young, you're oblivious to a lot of things because you're so self-absorbed about your own life. And I know I am. I mean, I don't mean to, broad sweep everything, but people I know were anyways. But as I got older and I started seeing this and I started noticing it, that's when I realized I was talking, and this all started because, oh God, I don't even remember her name, but she was dressed as a cheerleader with a severed head on her hip. Okay, so you might know the video game or whatever it's referenced, but that's what caused it. She was getting all this harassment and attention, and we just sort of went, yeah, come behind the table, sit down, and we just sort of stood in front of her. Imagine 5 big old fat white guys in Starfleet uniforms, okay, stood in front of this girl, and nobody was even aware she was there because we just kept her, away from the public just so that, and these guys that were like, yeah, move along. You're not welcome here. Just move along. Were we intimidating? Oh, hell no. Come on, old fat white guys, not going to be intimidating. But the fact is that, we're like, we're united in this. We're
power in numbers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. It was providing that wall.
It pretty much, that's what it was. It was the wall. And as I've gotten older, I've realized this is needed out there. You know, the conventions need to do that, and it's not just for the women. There are guys out there who get harassed.
Yeah.
There is one guy that does he's a very, very tall man. He's on rollerblades all the time. He's one of the volunteers at the Winnipeg conventions, and he wears a kilt all the time.
Right, yeah, I've seen guys like that same thing. Yeah,
I've heard women going, "I wonder what's under his kilt," and it's just like, and I just have this image in my head of how many times that he's had that kilt, lift up on him.
But I'm talking about, and I understand what you're saying, Willow, and Tel. When I wear my kilt, I get the same problem. Of course, my wife makes comments for me. Okay, just defending me. But what I'm talking about is I'm talking about the handicaps. You people with handicaps of any sort, from physical to mental, and we extend that out there too, and that is in orientation, because some, like Charlotte said, flamboyance. Mm-hmm. Some people are just naturally flamboyant. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You're gonna have to live with it. And if they get harassed, we're like, yep, come on, I'm a Trekkie. We welcome all. And now, fortunately, and I know this is gonna sound weird. Fortunately, we haven't had to deal with that, and I'm glad for it, because that means somebody's actually being smart out there. Yeah. But we welcome everybody, and that's what you got to do. It's because it's not just women nowadays; it's everything across the board. Yeah. I'm sad to say, and I think we need to do that. We need to say to everybody, safe spots are there for a reason, and if you're a jerk, we're gonna basically say we don't want you around.
I think to add to that, though, we spend a lot of time teaching our kids not to be bystanders and to stand up for the little guy. Yeah. And, little guy, but the person, whoever the underdog is, whoever needs protection. And I think if we spend that much trying to teach our kids that, then why do we have so much problems for people to stand up and say that? Like, for me, I look at my kids and I said, you can see, I'm pretty open with the people that deserve to know. But as far as my classroom is concerned, I don't think my orientation or any of that is relevant to their lives. And
having lived in an environment where, while you talk about what you're talking about, Nicole, is positive, I've lived in the other environment. Okay, I grew up in the U.S. military. Okay, where it was a male macho environment from the 1960s.
Don't ask, don't tell, and all of that.
Oh no, this was even before that. This is
you weren't allowed.
Right,
you weren't allowed to show that. That was weakness.
Yeah, I'm talking 1979 was when my dad got out. So I mean, we're talking Vietnam. We're talking all that time. John Wayne, and it was taught to the boys. Male dominance. And if you can't beat up the other kid, then you're a wimp. And every cliche you can think of the male dominance was there where I grew up. Now, how did I change? I got the right people around me, and that helps. But we are slowly as a society changing that. But why is it still there? Because there are still the male dominance in a large part of men out there.
And it's not just that. It's anybody who's a majority trying to weigh in on what the minority should do.
Right, exactly.
So for me, it's always, what are you? And I'm like, why do I have to say? Because my reaction in my classroom is, I'm going to deflect because I don't need to tell you. It's none of your damn business because you're 13. My orientation doesn't matter. Like, here's the picture of my husband and my children, and you need not know anything else about my orientation. At this point, you don't need to know anything about my sexuality. Mm-hmm. But also, there's the side of that, are you enough? So, like, as far as anxiety, like for me, because I am high functioning and because I have a very good grasp on my circle and the things I have control over, and that's a lot of, I don't want to say medication. There is some medication, but there's a lot of self-talk and a lot of things I've had to work through myself. But I have a lot of people that say, well, you don't look like you have anxiety. Until I spiral out of control, and Garrett could probably agree with this, but like he's seen it. But like nobody realizes what I have to do to keep that where it needs to be.
Yep.
And that is almost a hourly, if not minute by minute job when you're in situations like that. So if I'm at a con, or if certain things trigger me, I don't always have the wherewithal or the ability to invoke a lot of my coping strategies. So people are like, well, you don't seem like that. So then all of a sudden when something does happen and I do tend to like overreact or have a panic attack or whatever it might be, then people just think I'm crazy because I couldn't handle my whatever. And I'm like, I told you that I have a problem. Like, I told you I have a problem. It's the same with autism, like you were saying. It's the same with all the other stuff. But like, I always feel like, when are we ever enough? Like, if I'm body positive and I'm happy with who I am, then I can't show too much because then I'm asking for something else. And if I'm too anxious or not enough anxious, then you don't believe that I'm anxious. And then if I'm, I love the native thing because blue eyes, brown hair, very light skin, native as well. But I get that too. It's like, well, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So then what am I? Or okay, well, you like both, you like all. Okay, well then you're not enough of whatever. So then what am I? Like, I'm enough for me. I'm enough for the people that love me. But why do I always have to feel like I have to explain it to everybody else? Like, my kids walk in and the first thing they say to me is, I'm whatever. Like, I'm bisexual, I'm gay, I'm this, I'm that. Why is it the first thing you say to me? Is that all you are? Like, I have so much that I could tell you about me that my sexuality is only a itty bitty bit of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's an itty bitty bit of what controls the way I think, feel, and desire.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to bring about something.
Yeah.
Ted Davies' artistry. Some really good points.
Ted does have some, and I am watching the chat and I'm trying to pick good times to bring it up. I'm so sorry, but there was one he did. My father taught me that all women are beautiful. As an artist, you can appreciate that, but that is not a license to treat women as objects. Touching on that as well, like we've all throughout my life, I've been taught that women's body, everybody's bodies is like a piece of art, and we should admire it. And and as I'm getting older, I'm appreciating my naked body more, and I'm hoping that you guys are appreciating your guys' naked body as well, for the art piece it is. And there's
so many comments I could make about my own body.
but the more that we bring ourselves out and become more confident in ourselves to show it off, the more harassment we tend to get, it seems. And
but admiring something doesn't mean you have to ogle. Like, I can admire the painting, but that doesn't mean that I'm drooling on it. It doesn't mean that I walk up across the blockades at the Louvre and touch it. Like, you don't do that. So where is the line that can be drawn when we talk about that? Yes, I want to see it for art's sake, and I'm still getting used to it. But for art's sake, yeah, I love the fact that Brian can take a black and white picture of me and it's incredible. And I love my curves in certain ways. But then it becomes not just an artsy, cool thing that he did, but something that somebody's like, yeah, I want to hit that. I didn't ask you.
Yeah.
So it all, for me, most of this boils down to consent.
Yes.
And it's actually something that I teach. During the one-on-one nights, I teach about consent. And I teach about yes meaning yes, no meaning no, and maybe meaning absolutely not. If somebody says, oh, maybe I'm into this, that's a key right there to stop and to reevaluate the situation, sit down, because obviously there's something uncomfortable there. And most of the time, it can be resolved. There are some times where you just have to walk away from the situation. As a title holder, my back patch on my vest is the target that has been painted there that I have put there. I have, consent for me is a huge thing, because up until the age of 17, I didn't know anything about consent. I had my very first dominant at the age of 18, and he taught me about what consent was. And I took that little bit of knowledge that our 3 months together was, and I ran with it. And that's why now I feel comfortable teaching about consent.
Yeah.
And it's the same as the safe words that we use. Green, go, go. Yellow, slow down, kind of pause for a second. I just need to check in with you. Red, full stop. Everything stops. Because there's something wrong. I'm not feeling well. This doesn't feel right. I shouldn't be doing this. It's a full red. Mm-hmm. And it's the same as the stoplights when you're driving.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all of it has to do with boundaries and knowing and listening to your own inner voice saying, okay, maybe this isn't the right thing for me. And that's perfectly okay.
Yep.
And I wanted to stress that, it is perfectly okay to say no. It is perfectly okay to say, I'm not comfortable with this, please don't do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that a lot of people nowadays need to hear,
mm-hmm.
especially our younger generation, where they're being coerced into sending those nudes, into sending, risky pictures that you really wouldn't, because that inner voice inside of you is saying, nah, I don't think this is a good idea.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the issues that I'm worried about as my daughter gets older.
Yeah.
I mean, she's 8 years old right now, and we're in an environment of that.
Now.
Well, not only am I teaching her about consent, but Daddy's also teaching her the concept of boys are terrible people. But more along the lines of of what is appropriate and what isn't. That's not only just consent, but that's also there are times and places for things, and this is not the time and the place for that, but maybe later. Because like you said, I don't want her hiding her body, but I also don't want her just offering it up in ways that is inappropriate for her or her comfort level is what it comes down to. And that's, as a father, I mean, maybe I'm I'm an old school kind of guy, but like I said, I'm very protective of my daughter. But I also am worried that at some point I have to let my daughter trust her own instincts.
Do you guys feel like do you feel like fashion definitely is more suggestive way more suggestive than it needs to be for girls?
Well, the world is changing. There's been, I think, in the last 20 years by my count, but to others 10 years, depends on when you were born. There's been a push for body positivity. Yes, and we have one in Winnipeg that's currently in jail for this.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm sure we could say Peter Nygaard is a piece of trash human. So, and I apologize for anybody who has bought his stuff in the last 10 years.
So some did do it for sexual reasons. Others are doing it to allow men and women to finally express themselves, depending on how they're feeling. You know, it's okay to cover yourself up if that's the way you feel comfortable. It's okay to wear a bikini outside if you feel comfortable. So yes, fashion has definitely changed, and it's trying to follow. I really feel that with a lot of designers, it's following what people are comfortable with now. And some it's bear it all out. Others it's no, I feel comfortable in this sweater that completely covers me head to toe, and that's okay. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the problem, but I think if that's the only thing there is. I tutored a girl tonight who is in 5th grade. She'll be in 6th grade, which means she's about 12. Now, she's taller than me, so she is maybe 5'3", and probably more than half of that was legs.
Yeah.
She is well proportioned. She's not a lanky, crazy looking teenager, but she had a pair of shorts on that when she stood up, it didn't cover any part of her leg. And if that's the option, that's not body positive. That's a line that isn't quite, that's past a comfort zone, I think. Like, if that's the only thing you can find and it makes you feel inferior or scared, like, for me, I'm sorry, but just because they make it in my size doesn't mean I should wear it, and doesn't mean that I can pull it off, because I would be afraid. So I don't think these girls should be running around in shorts that show off half their ass crack either. I'm sorry. So yeah, fine within rights of age.
Yeah, after age. I agree with that.
But she's in 6th grade. Like, I stood up and she had to pull them down when she stood up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy crap.
I'm finding more and more places, like more of the high-end stores are selling stuff like that, where, you know, and I love my husband dearly, but I have a certain comfort zone. And he always shows me outfits that he would like me to wear, and I'm just like, no, I don't see myself wearing like some of these shorts are beyond Daisy Dukes, and I just.
My wife just laughs at me whenever I show her something like that. She breaks out into rolling laughter, like I'm an idiot. So I stopped doing that.
Yep. I say, how do you want me to pour all of myself into that?
Yeah. She just looked at it and just rolls her eyes or laughs at me. So I'm just like, okay, I'm done.
That brings me to my next question, Allie. Like, you and I are into the whole pinup thing, and how do you navigate yourself with your comfort zone and trying to be sexy as well? I know there's lots of outfits that are for both of us for our comfort zones, but I know I know the pinup pageant wants us to be more suggestive in so many ways. How do you?
I know trying to find a swimsuit that I wasn't terrified to wear was not a fun experience, because a lot of them were like these little tiny little triangles and these pieces of string, and it's like, I don't feel like I'd even stay in that, let alone feel comfortable getting up on stage.
You're talking the gauze pads and the floss.
There was quite a few of those, and that's like a lot of the vintage patterns come in that, and it's like, well, one, that isn't actually vintage style, and two, unless you have a certain body type, those don't stay on right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And unless you have a certain body type, most of us don't feel comfortable with that, because we move and everything's out.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it makes it very difficult to try and find certain styles that still, you can find something that still covers what you want covered.
That's kind of why I went with the one-piece bathing suit and the shorts look, because there was no way I was going to be comfortable enough wearing either a bikini or like the, shaving that much.
I think beauty and when you can sexualize yourself without showing everything. Like, I think like sexy means that you can, it's a state of mind, not necessarily a state of clothing or lack thereof. Like, I think a lot of times knowing that about you, like, I've had plenty of guys that have been in my life and say, "Don't look at me like that." And I'm like, what did I do? Like, oh, well, you're like, it's a certain thing you do with your eyes. And I'm like, well, can you reproduce this? Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, please tell me when this is happening, because I don't want it to happen. Like, I don't know what that is. And so it's like, well, it's a way you turn your head, or it's a way you do this, and I'm like, I intended on none of that. Like, I didn't even know.
Bedroom
eyes. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So I had some of my older friends would call them Betty Davis eyes, and they would be like, well, you do that. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know that I'm doing it. I'm sorry. So I think sexy is a state of mind, and it's not necessarily what you're wearing, because, like Betty Page and a lot of our vintage pinup girls were way more covered than any of the girls now.
Yep.
Like, I would die for a I found one swimsuit that's a halter top, and the top comes down to here. So there's literally this much of my stomach that shows, because the bottoms are high-waisted and they're ribbed, and the top comes down a little further. And so I'm okay with that, because this tiger earned her stripes, and she's not exactly okay with the whole world seeing them.
Yeah.
Nor do they probably want to. But my point is that I feel great in that bathing suit, because it accentuates what I want it to, and it draws away from the things that I don't want it to.
Yeah. And partly that's why I like the pinup stuff, is because it allows me to feel sexy without showing too much if I don't want to. And I'm still trying to find I find myself in so many ways, and I love the pinup. I love vintage stuff. I also like steampunk and dressing in layers. So, yeah.
And I completely understand you about that one. I have learned that when I am in a corset, one, don't bend over unless I've got double-sided tape. I am quite top-heavy. Okay? I am very top-heavy. Hence why everywhere I go, I wear a sports bra. Because regular bras don't fit.
Yeah.
But I've learned, if I'm going to bend over in a corset, hand goes on top, and then I bend.
Yeah.
And it can't
Isn't that why you have men around, or someone on your arm to bend for you?
I am usually my assistant is running everywhere else.
Okay.
If my shoe becomes untied, I am not allowing him to tie it. I'm tying it myself. But, I've learned double-sided tape. I've learned ways to keep the ladies in place.
Yeah.
Because I've had it where I have bent over and all of a sudden one's popped out. And it's embarrassing. It is super embarrassing. Because then I'm like stuffing it in, trying to fit it back into this corset, and it's just not going. And I see you laughing, Nicole, because I think you probably experienced it before.
So I'm a little more on the modest side up here, but that has its caveats too, because if you're a plus size girl looking for plus size clothes that fit you here and still fit you here, if your girls aren't voluptuous, then nothing fits you here. So your shoulders, everything seems so big up here. So your neckline isn't really a neckline. So you have all of this space that becomes open like fair game. So I had a shirt that fit everywhere except for here. And so I figured I was okay. And so I like leaned over the table and I was talking to one of the kids, and it wasn't super low, but all of a sudden I had eyes. And I look like, okay, because I teach 13-year-olds. So I looked down and I was like, oh. And I felt disgusted and violated all at the same time with their 13-year-old eyeballs. But I was like, that was my own fault too, because I didn't realize that my clothing didn't give me that protection, coverage. That safety. Like I had a bra on, but my bra was one of the, it was like holding them in, but it wasn't covering anything else up.
Yeah.
And I just felt icky, but also understanding, yes, they like boobies.
Yes.
But, like realizing that I didn't necessarily initiate it, but I didn't realize that I needed to be more aware of what I was wearing because it wasn't unintentional. I didn't think that it would be a thing, but given the movement, it provided a show that I didn't intend on showing.
When I go shopping especially for shirts, because I am so busty, I literally in the dressing room, so nobody else can see this, I do the bend and I do the whole shoulders back to see if it's a button up front, is that thing going to stay closed? Because if it's not going to stay closed, it either goes up a size or I need a different shirt or I need a camisole underneath. Like I am, as much as I am in the fetish community and I'm in the BDSM community, my body is still, I have a 7-year-old daughter, so I've earned my stripes as well. And I'm not comfortable with everyone seeing everything. Like I may wear something that you would consider like lingerie, but underneath that lingerie, I've got nipple pasties on. I make sure like my butt, I've got skirts that go over my butt. Like if I'm wearing like a negligee or something like that, my ass is covered.
Yeah.
Because I don't want, like, if I have to bend over, I don't want somebody seeing my zip code.
Yep.
Yep.
And it comes down to, especially with plus size clothing, I found that because I am bustier, if I go for the V-neck, I literally have to hand sew to about, there you go. I have to sew to about here. So that if I bend over, you are seeing a little bit of cleavage, but you are not seeing everything. Because even my tank tops, I find that they actually sit a little bit too low for my personal tastes, which is why my camera is above that.
My skirts and my dresses all have to be below my knee because I am terrified that I will bend over and, the whole world will see my goods. Like I reserve those places for the people closest to me, and that's it. Like you have no reason to see that otherwise.
Yeah.
We only show what we want people to see and what we're comfortable with. It's same in the fashion industry with models. Most of us have to wear short shorts for certain things. Most of us are wearing 4 or 5 pairs of underwear to prevent any shapes from showing up in those shorts, So, it's exactly how you say it. It's what you want people to see and what you're comfortable with, and it should more and more fashion outlets need to understand that different shapes need certain coverage to allow for each individual to be comfortable wearing it and not have accidents that that individual does not want.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I did not know this. I interviewed Ted a couple of weeks ago, and I did not know that he wears kilts. Good to know. But yeah, I good on you guys. Like kilts are beautiful when guys are wearing them. It looks
it looks the bomb.
I'm going to trip over my own words for this, but whenever people say that guys don't get sexualized as much as men don't get sexualized as much as women do, I want to say bullshit.
Yep.
Because
Odds are horrible. We are terrible people.
I hear it.
Groups of women are horrible. We're terrible.
I am even guilty of doing it myself.
Same.
Like I will on Facebook, I'll share a picture of a shirtless guy wearing a kilt.
Yeah.
Because it's attractive.
Who's a Doctor Who fan here? All right.
I kind of wish I could go back in time and delete some of those because I realized that it's yes, it's appreciating the artistry of that's a really great shot. But at the same time, I realized that I am objectifying the people
comic books. Those of us who like comic books, like, come on. I bought comic books strictly for the sake of the guys, the muscly men.
my ex-wife commented because she was at the time commenting about the women drawn in comics. That her comment, and my ex-wife is a busty woman also. She just looks at them and just goes, they'd tap right over if those women were real. She goes, comic books, soap operas written by boys for boys. Okay, because even the guys are unrealistic. I looked at the guys and went, no, there's no way that they would look like that. They'd topple over also. But yeah,
I'm a huge wrestling fan. both me. Well, okay, reels and heels.
Yeah.
Hey, now to be completely honest, I have 100% agreed to this. I love certain people, and there are just some things that you love about them. So, as far as professional wrestlers go, Edge is and always will be my favorite. The hands down, forever and ever and always. And from here up to here is great. I wish he would cut this mess of godliness, but and not shave this because I'm good with this. I like facial hair, but the hair could go. And the chest can stay, but then I don't undress him with anything else. He wears, tights, but this part is beautiful, and that's amazing. And I don't think I'm objectifying him in a way of saying that I appreciate his physicality in that too. I'm not undressed, I'm not taking his pants off in my head. I guess. And the same as with Roman Reigns. He has an amazing bone structure in his face. I think maybe what women see is sexual sometimes is different than what men see. It's not just boobs. It's not just TNA. For us, it's not just.
Pretty much, Brian. Pretty much.
I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. No, because they both stand upright. They can all stand up.
But I mean, we get mad at men for their locker talk, and we are just as guilty of doing it ourselves. And I hate
towards celebrities.
Everybody pretty much in the chat has had an indecent conversation with me at one point.
No, I haven't.
I'm curious as to how much
no indecent conversations with me. What are you talking about?
I mean, how much sexualization has Chris Evans and Hemsworth had to deal with? I'm sure. You know.
Okay, well, when you're Thor and you're America's ass, what are you gonna do? He leaked his own dick pic. Like, what do you? Like, at some point, you're just like, okay, all's forgiven. You can say whatever you want. But I'm also not. If I saw him like out and about with whatever, I'm not gonna walk up to him and go, "Nice ass." Like, I'm just not going to do that. So why do some people assume that they can do that? And I can't just say guys, because it's women too.
Yeah.
Like, they will walk up to you and say, oh, well, and I'm like, I didn't ask you. Like,
what's interesting on some of that is that it's a power trip for a lot of guys. You know, it's an attempt at a power trip. And I actually saw that happen once, and she turned around and just like offered herself up, and he didn't know what to do. Wow. You know, and I gotta say, I fell over laughing. Okay, it was just too funny for me. You know, so you know, but it's a power thing but you know, hey, if I had Chris Evans's body and butt, you know, I'm not sure how I would feel.
And going back to like the Doctor Who thing, I mean, okay, we had a situation where one of the actors has been kicked off the show because of his indecent exposure problem in previous years. See, and I'm kind of on the fence about that whole situation, because John Barrowman is a great actor, first of all. I love him dearly. And him being openly gay and openly
flamboyant about it.
Yeah. He's apologized for his behavior on many occasions from his indiscretions of the past. Why now did that all of a sudden become an issue? And so I don't know. I see you shaking your head, Nicole. Do you think he should have been kicked off the show a long time ago for that?
I think we get a little too wrapped. Like, I am one of those people that's like, okay, your body is a pretty natural thing. And up until, I don't know, the Apple, we didn't really worry too much about nudity. So at the end of the day, it's like, do I close the door and treat my children? I mean, because I'm outnumbered at my house. Like, I am the only female. That's it. Just me.
My mom had the same problem.
So, like, I am the only female. So if I were to shut everybody out of everything, and they did not understand what it was, but like, my kids understand, like, I'm pretty free about my body, but every time that there is a comment made or something that is talked about, I have to remind them that just because it's me doesn't mean that it applies to the rest of the world. And so I think, like, why does it matter if, like, we know John Barrowman is kind of out there, and he's a little more exuberant about things than anybody else. I mean, any man who can wear a blue suit and heels at a con is, props to you, because you wear better shoes than I do. But like, you know, why are we all hung up on this thing? Like, okay, so we screwed up. So we have all messed up. There's all been something we said that we wish we could have taken back. Mm-hmm. And so why are we all getting so upset about something that happened 10 years ago or 5 years ago? I mean, it's the same, like, we do this to everybody now. It's like, well, you said this. 10 years ago, and it was taken completely out of context. It's like, why do we have to shame anybody for what they choose to do? It's like, figure out why. Like, why is he the way he is? Probably because he lived in the closet for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really hard to not go all out. Like for me, like, I never thought I hid anything. But apparently nobody knew.
But okay, so we have John Barrowman, who is known to had a segment in Doctor Who where he walked around naked for a little bit. So obviously he had to be full blown.
Well, was it written into the show, and was it gratuitous nudity for the fact that it was nudity, or did it actually have part of the story?
It was part of the story, and for the life of me, I apologize.
I don't understand what the big deal is.
I'm trying to remember the episode that it was pertaining to, and I'm sure someone in the chat will correct me on this. But he was a prisoner, and he showed up, and he was naked. So,
are these the same people that have problems with breastfeeding women? I don't understand.
But Jennifer Lawrence had done a movie where she had to be naked pretty much through the whole movie, so she walked around the set butt naked, and apparently that made people uncomfortable.
Is that X-Men?
She was
in Mystique?
I think that was
in Mystique.
Mystique was painted with covers, but you could still see a lot.
Yeah.
Because okay,
Rebecca Romaine had the same problem.
Yeah,
I mean that it's part. I don't know. Like, see,
with the acting, this is where I think there's a gray area. I was on the set of Faces in the Crowd, and there was a scene where I was an extra with Mila Jovovich. She was essentially. She was being attacked in one of the scenes, and you do figure out as I'm describing this what part scene in the movie it ends up being before she gets pushed into the river. She was walking around, no problem, with her ripped shirt, obviously parts of her showing. She was in character even when the cameras were not rolling. So when people talk about actors walking around naked around set, I feel like they're method acting and they're in their character every step of the way until cameras stop rolling and it goes into editing. Mm-hmm. So that's where I feel there's such a gray area with that. Like, sure, some people are uncomfortable with it, but if you work on a set, you know this happens all the time. Should it be happening? I don't know. You know, I didn't really care about it. Sure, Mila Jovovich looks great, and because I don't see the body as sexual, I just thought, oh, her shirt is ripped. I guess I know what scene I'm going to be coming into in about 30 seconds, you know? So that's how I thought of it, but you never know, right?
And I think there's people out there that sexualize everything, sadly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, how do you sexualize a woman feeding her baby? We make that.
Okay,
I mean,
so
we
I love
make
my husband
that
for his information. Thank you.
We make that a thing. Why is that a thing? Like, we are too hung up on a lot of things. Like, we get a little too weirded out by anything that's not the status quo.
Well, that's the Puritan nature of this country. You know, I mean, if you look back on the sexualization of everything and not sexualization or whatever, that goes all the way back to the Puritans. And Victorian era. We're still recovering from all of that as a society. There's several books on that subject that I've read that basically we just can't get out of our own way.
Yeah.
Okay, so he would moon people, but I heard that he would also full-fledged drop his drawers and, show everything. But, yes, he had since apologized. He shouldn't have apologized because when he sat at the bar behind me when I was talking to Carl, Sorry. But no, John Barrowman had apologized since then many times for his behavior, and for them to just say that no, he's no longer on Doctor Who now. Kind of breaks my heart about that, because I don't feel like I would love to see him interact more with the new Doctor.
So I wanted to bring up Ted Davies' artistry comment. Sorry. Devil's advocate, if a guy, looked like Brad Pitt, it's not sexual harassment. If it's unwanted, it is sexual harassment. If it's unwanted, if I've told you once to back off and you keep getting in my face, be prepared for me to reach out and touch you in a way you ain't gonna like.
No, go ahead.
I have heard people try to use that logic, like, oh, if it was a hot guy, or if it was so and so, you wouldn't be upset. And it's like, no, I would be. It's still harassment.
Yeah.
If I've told you no, or I've brushed you off at least once, get the hint.
Yeah.
I've had my birthday party was a great one. My 33rd birthday. When I actually proposed to my girlfriend, there was a very drunk woman. She was hitting on me. She was ignoring my girlfriend, but hitting on me. And I looked at her and I said, "You need to back off." And she's like, but why? I said, because it was before I had proposed. I said, because I'm here with somebody and I'm leaving with them. Like, I'm not leaving with you. The girl did not get the hint even after I proposed to my girlfriend. She still invited me back to her place. And I actually had to throw her out of my own birthday party. Had no idea who invited her, but she just showed up. I didn't know this girl from a hole in the ground, and I was like, what are you doing here?
Wow.
It probably didn't help that I held my birthday party in a bar. But
I've heard you can't rape the willing either. And here's the thing, it's like, sure, because then it's not rape, but it's often used in context with men. And we always assume that men are okay with whatever sexual advance that's made.
Nope.
Well, that's not always the case. Like, although there's very few times when if a sexual advance was made to my husband that he wouldn't take it up. Let's be honest, it's him. But I know this, but that doesn't mean that just because you walk into a room and you see a guy that he's automatically going to be like, cool, yeah, let's go. I mean, like, that would be irresponsible to think that, because they wouldn't do it. They would, but we wouldn't appreciate it if they did it to us.
Yeah.
So why do we allow it to continue to happen, even on both sides of it?
And sadly, a lot of people do victim blame when it comes to and just recently with some of the comments that I got on talking about this on my page, I got, well, why do you invite these people to be on your friends list, or why do you allow this? And it's like, it's not, friending them, I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt to be good people. And it should not be on me at all for their attitudes.
It also comes with being a public persona as well.
Yes.
The more you're out in public, the more people friend you.
Yeah.
And the more people feel that they are entitled to your space. And they're not. I'm still a human being underneath that sash. And that's what I have to keep reminding people of, is that I am still a human being behind my leather.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because I'm out here and I'm wearing a corset and leather pants and boots doesn't mean that you're entitled to touch me or you're entitled to make a sexual advance, or that you are entitled to anything from me. If I want to walk away from a conversation, I'm going to walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, I will always assume good intentions with people. And sadly, I'm not so great on knowing when someone is flamboyantly gay. I have no gay, like, that meter is broken completely. I can flirt with a very out and proud gay person, but the moment that I see someone who is a very big douchebag walk through the doors, that's where it's like, oh, don't interact with him.
Your douchebag radar goes on overdrive. It always kind of makes me laugh though, because like I don't know you in person. However, we have had enough banter that occasionally I'll see a Facebook post or a picture of you, and the only thing I say, and God help me, I am so sorry, but I'll be, holy boobs. Like, that's all I saw, because it's not something I see on a daily basis. So, but I was like, because the dress, I was like, oh, like, wow. And I didn't know what to do with all that, because like, I see you here.
Okay, so the strapless dress that I was wearing in that picture, I had to put straps on because otherwise it would just like slide down. And so I wore that at my first pinup pageant, and I sewed straps on it so that it would actually hold up. And
move.
So yeah, of course, people are going to see that and be like, holy crap, she has tits. Like, it is. They're still there.
That picture is the one where I'm like, holy boobs. Like, that's the holy boobs, Matt, man. That's all I see. I don't even see your face, and I'm so sorry. And it's like, but that's all I can see, because it's just so what I consider out of character for what I generally see you in.
Yeah.
Like, I generally see you just like this, or at least in something similar. Like, of course, I only see this much of your face too. Like, I only see this much of you anyways. So, like, truthfully, like, it could catch people by surprise, but I've had enough banter with you that if I say that to you, you know where that's coming from, I hope. And that it's not coming from a place of,
close friends,
hey, how are you?
Okay.
Nice tits.
With close friends and you guys, I'm okay with having those kind of conversations. But when I just friend you on Facebook and I have no clue who you are as a personality, I'm sorry. Your comments about your comments about my boobs is unwelcome.
I have a friend who I've known for 30 years. I'm still learning her boundaries. Okay. I've known Willow for about a year now, would you say? Now I know some of your boundaries. Same with Nicole. There are certain things I still won't say, even though I know it's okay, because there's also my comfort level of saying things,
Yeah.
But you get to know the boundaries, then you can say stuff. Until you don't know the boundaries, keep your trap shut is how I feel about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially online when you don't know the people.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is where we come back to the consent to is even with my friends, even more so with the pandemic too, and don't follow my lead unless you know the person. I still ask, can I hug you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you need a hug? Do you want a hug? Or do you want me just to back off? I stop and ask. And that's something we all need to start doing with everybody, I feel.
So,
go ahead, Charlotte.
So on that note, there was this really hot leather daddy, head to toe in leather, absolutely gorgeous specimen. Okay. Completely gorgeous. Now, I, as a bootblack, I'm very tactile. I'm very hands-on. And I walked up to him and I said, "Excuse me." And he looks at me and he goes, "Yeah?" I'm like, "I just need to feel your shirt." And he looks at me like I've lost my freaking marbles. And I quickly followed up with, "I'm a bootblack. I just need to feel your shirt because that is gorgeous." And he went, "Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead." Like, I will see something that I admire in a person and I will tell them. And if it's leather, because I have a fetish for leather, if it's leather, I have to hold myself back because I'm like, I just want to touch this.
Yeah.
It's not the person I'm touching, it's the garment that they are wearing.
Yeah.
And I have to actually hold myself back and say to myself, I need to ask permission before I touch somebody.
Yeah.
I
And
need to.
being in the costuming community as well, like I know we met at KeyCon, which is a sci-fi convention, sci-fi fantasy convention, and there was, and the SCA, the stuff that they come out with when they do their work, and you're drawn to certain fabrics, you're drawn to certain costumes, and like you want a close-up detail of certain things. And I would not want to touch someone's outfit if their outfit is very delicate.
Yeah.
But also, like I said at the beginning of the show, is I've gone up to women and asked if I could touch something, and usually the wrist. Most people don't have a problem with me touching the wrist. Like I said, seams. I mean, let's be honest, seams are tough. But I had this woman that I wanted to look. She had an elaborate wing thing going on, and I was curious as to how it was supported in the back and all that. And I asked if I could touch, and she said, "No, please don't." Which point you walk back. Now you're allowed to lean forward and look. Because, but you're not allowed to touch. Yeah. That's the rule. Okay, if they say no, then you step back. There's no simpler rule than that. And I still don't understand that, of people not taking no on that one. Especially if you're a costumer and you're looking at another costumer's stuff.
Yeah. And Ivy, I've seen you in body paint. And you're walking around with pasties and underwear, and you're just fully covered. Kim Brennan, first of all, does this amazing job of body painting people at conventions, and Ivy has been her model for several occasions. She's done her body. She's done body paint at Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
I miss Mardi Gras.
That's such a fun event.
See, here's the other thing is this, as a costumer, and I look at some women's costumes, and every woman out there will tell you underwear is a problem for costuming. Mm-hmm. Okay, because it has bumps, it has seams, it doesn't. You're trying to get something that looks perfectly flesh, whatever, and you're looking at it, and underwear doesn't work. Guys have the same problem, but not as bad as women do. And I asked this woman how she did something with, about underwear, because she was wearing this Catwoman outfit. It was really smooth and nice. And she freaked out at me. Okay, that I asked about her underwear. And it wasn't sexual, because I prefaced that I was commenting on her costume. So I don't know if I overstepped a bound or anything, but that happened to me. And underwear is an important concept in costuming. That, hell, I read a book on Victorian underwear just because we were doing steampunk once.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe I overstepped a bound on that one.
I feel like
underwear is an important conversation to have about costume. Like just in general, like if you're a bigger girl and you're looking for certain, certain lines to be a certain way, you're going to see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Otherwise. Like underwear is a thing. And I think, if it's part of understanding the lines in your costume, then where is that? Yep. Where is it okay to ask that question about costuming, and why then you would feel like as a man, you'd have to follow it up with 100 reasons why you were asking. Yeah. And I think like coming from a certain place, like, shouldn't we understand where people are coming from in that case?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
he was asking about the costume. Let's not freak out about the fact that he asked about underwear. Like,
how do you hide specific lines, right?
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah.
what you were actually asking.
Yeah.
And because it didn't come out a certain way, it was misconstrued as something that could have been.
Yeah, and I backed away fast on that one. I was like, okay, I understand. I've overstepped in your opinion, so that was the end of that conversation.
And we have all tripped over our own words when it comes to it. Like I do it all the time. I did it on this show. But we're all learning. We're all learning our boundaries. We're all learning what we can and can't say to each other on a personal level, and and I'm trying very hard to be respectful also when it comes to seeing like. I mean, Ivy, when I saw you in body paint that one time, and I wanted a closer look, and I saw the pasties. It's like, okay, that's how they do it. I wasn't meaning to by checking out like anything, but I wasn't being discreet about it either.
But a lot of that is education, though. Like you didn't know, so asking the question. I mean, it would just be like somebody asking a question about leatherworks and BDSM. It would be the same thing. Like if we wanted to know, you'd invite the question as opposed to whatever you could assume about the situation.
See, and that's where, and in replies, because of the nature of my costume, I get all kinds of questions from how did you do that? How did you do this? How are you covering certain things? And in Winnipeg, it's perfectly legal for a woman to be topless as long as her, and I'm going to say the real word here, nipples are covered. So I gauge the situation. Willow comes up to me. She's my friend. I know she's not hitting on me per se. She's not trying to make me uncomfortable. She is legitimately asking a legitimate question to learn.
I'm checking out. Like I'm a detailed person. Okay.
Exactly.
So and the one time where you were dressed up, you were Daenerys, and you had
Daenerys
like all the
Targaryen.
you had dragons all over you. I wanted to look at the detail of the dragons and again,
and that's one of the first times you saw me like that, right? And I gauged the situation. You weren't creepily, slurping up drool as you're like, oh my god, getting closer and closer. No, you kept your distance enough distance. That's where you say back off, by the way.
You can see where my eye was.
Can I borrow that phrase, slurping up drool? Can I borrow that phrase? That is great.
I gauged the situation. I could tell you were looking at Kim's and Mai's collaboration on the artwork. With the underwear question, as a model, I get that. Believe it or not, I used to train models too at one point as I got into the senior age of the models. I'm not actually a senior. But, these young girls and young males were asking, okay, we're wearing slightly tighter clothing. How do we stop ourselves from flapping or certain curves from showing? And I'm like, extra pairs of underwear, boys, go get this type of underwear.
Yeah.
And, it's gauging the situation. You can, 90% of the time, you can tell when they're doing it to be creepy or when it's crossing a line.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is by accident, and a simple no thank you, as soon as they back off, they didn't do it exactly on purpose. Those that are doing it on purpose and really don't give a damn are going to keep doing it, and that's where you start getting loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be respectful at first, and then if it continues, right? So unless they're literally trying to hold you down and you're like, oh heck no, don't become physical or aggressive until after you've gauged the situation. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
There was a problem at one of the local BDSM clubs of this woman going around touching guys' butts just because they were wearing jock straps and their butts were exposed.
No.
And I had to be the one to basically slap her hands and go, that is not appropriate. Don't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then she did it again. I had to physically remove her from the space.
And that is warranted. That was warranted.
She violated consent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hate having to do it. I really do. Because I'm one of those people where I like to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
You know, I want them to have a good time. I want them to, explore. But that situation made me uncomfortable because she literally walked up to our head DM, which is a dungeon monitor. Don't get that confused with Dungeon Master. I'm not playing D&D.
Yeah, but I'm an elf, so.
I'm a gnome. But, she walked up to her head DM and literally stuck her hand underneath his kilt. And I saw it, and I physically grabbed her, and I said, okay, enough's enough. You've been warned, now it's time to leave.
Yeah.
And the owner of the club was like, I didn't even catch that. Holy crap. And our head DM was like, she's been doing that all night to a bunch of different people. And it was my good friend that actually came forward and said, like, this woman's been touching me. Like, can you get her to back off?
See,
and
which leads. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. I'll right after you.
Having to physically remove somebody, it's embarrassing. But at the same time, my goal and my job is to make sure everybody is safe. So, I'm doing my job. This woman is grumpy, for lack of a better term. She is grumpy that I am physically putting my hands on her and I am escorting her out of the building.
Yeah.
Because I'm security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 5'3" and I'm about 290 pounds. And forgive my terminology, I'm built like a brick shit house. One, you don't mess with me, because everybody knows me. My nickname used to be Dragon, and there was a reason for that. Because I protect what's in my space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
oh no, go ahead, Ivy.
Oh, sorry. So that's where that was warranted, and I wish more people, when they see something or hear something, they say something.
Yeah.
I don't know how many, and our friend in the kilt, I've done this so many times. Besides me catching a glance of him and being like, yeah, nice kilt. I hear men and women make a comment about what's under there. Is he a MacDonald? Those sick little jokes. And I turn around and I'm like, Kate, just stop. One, would you say that to his face? Mm-hmm. And they stop and go, oh, why, right? But I've watched people getting sexually harassed right in front of hundreds of people, and those hundreds of people are sitting there and going, oh, not my problem, and they walk away. No, you need to say something. Not everybody is built to or feels comfortable saying it to protect themselves. But somebody needs to step in if you know without a shadow of a doubt that something wrong is happening here. You need to say something. And you start with, okay, that's enough. This person feels uncomfortable. Or, I see it happening, say, to Willow. I'll walk up to Willow and say, hey, do you want to talk? And if she gives me a sign, whether it's a special wink or a like, oh, God, help me, or she outright says, you know what, let's go walk away and talk, then I know I saved her. That's where I can turn around and say, enough's enough, back off. You're making people uncomfortable,
one of the things I found also was, and I did this with a.
Oops. It's okay.
I'm like, oh my God, what happened? One of the things that happened at an event that I was at was a certain celebrity was being not harassed, but the guy just didn't know his boundaries. And so I came up to them as part, and I had the badge on his staff, and started talking to them about like the weather or something else, and whatever, and basically just sort of eased my way into the conversation and pushed him out through the conversation. And it took about 2 or 3 minutes, and he was gone, because basically he was being ignored, and I was there. So it was a didn't have to move the guy, got the guy out of there. And that was the end of that. So there was no confrontation. And I found that that's very useful also. Just talk about the weather. Talk about, how's your hotel room? Have you seen this in the hotel bar? It's really delicious. Whatever. Just something to change the conversation, and this person you move them out.
Yeah.
And that's
I feel
actually
like if you're a wingman or a true friend, you already know how to do this.
Yeah.
Like, we've had opportunities where we've had to swoop in and save somebody.
Nicole,
you pose as their girlfriend, or you pose as somebody who's just pushing your way in to save them from whatever nonsense.
Remind me, Nicole, when we get off air, about how I saved Aphrodite from Xena.
No, no.
From that. There's a whole aspect of that. But Nicole, I'm a geek. I'm a true old age geek. I've got pictures from when I was a teenager. I don't know what a wingman is. Okay? I've never been out doing that sort of thing. Okay?
So girls, we know, because I've had plenty of girls that I had to be their girlfriend or they had to be mine to separate the advances. And then the guys who were just like that were like, oh, so really? Like,
Oh, yeah.
But then there were other ones that would get you figure out how to come in to save the day. And that's what I'm saying about bystanders. Like, if you're going to be a bystander and you're going to allow it to happen, then it's the passive kind of, you're just as bad as everybody else. Like, I will speak up for myself, because at this point, I don't care. Like, I'm going to say what I need to say about me. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to say it within earshot of me, you better be ready for me to come back and say something. Yeah. But I'm also old enough and wise enough. Maybe when I was 20 something, I might not have. But at the same time, I also know a whole hell of a lot more about who I am as a person as well.
And that is important.
I'm comfortable with.
Yeah. Because when you're young, you're still trying to figure out who the hell you are.
Yeah.
What you're comfortable with, like what your boundaries are. Like, I mean, I lived in a very heteronormative, like this is how things are supposed to be. And you weren't expected to be allowed to do or see or say or talk about some of the things that I've recently understood a whole lot better. And like, there are just some things I still am not going to discuss with people from back then, because they won't and they can't understand that. And so when people say, well, why don't you? And I'm like, because there's enough of my other facets of personality that I don't have to explain this part of it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I refuse to talk about my sexuality with my kids. Like, it is none of your business. Well, why is the unicorn in your bio? Why is the unicorn in my bio? Why do I have a pride flag? Why what? Why is there a picture of a peach in my, like, if you don't know what the symbols mean, then don't ask me, because they're there for a reason. And if you're too young to know, then I'm not going to talk to you about it.
Unfortunately, there's the opposite end, that there's too old like myself who doesn't know some of the symbols too. So, so there's that aspect too. That's where I get in trouble. But see, I'm too old. I don't know some of the stuff,
Yeah.
So asking is better than not, and assuming.
Yeah, exactly.
And I understand what Nicole is saying about her kids. Hell, there's stuff that I don't tell my wife that I did as a younger person, or Gwen will never know, in my life of what I've done. But, if Nicole and I are talking at a convention and something comes up and I don't understand it, if I don't ask, I'm going to assume, and then I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. Better I ask than not, is how I feel. If I'm asking, that means I don't know the answer.
Mm-hmm. Within reason,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
within reason of age, but I refuse to talk to my children about it.
Absolutely, I am right there beside you, Nicole.
Same with religion. Like my kids are like, "So are you Christian?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to talk to you about that." So what if I'm not? What if I am? Like
one of my good friends is Orthodox Jew, and I'm asking him questions all the time because I don't have a clue about his religion. And the guy I'm working with is Iraqi, so he's telling me all about Islam. Okay, I don't have a clue about religion. I grew up in a very agnostic family, but yeah, there's that point. You're absolutely right, Nicole. My kids, Gwen, you've met Gwen. She is never gonna find out about certain things about my life. But Nicole, if it's you and me and we're having a beer together and you have a question, I'll probably tell you stuff that my kid doesn't know. Like you said, age appropriate.
I told Willow, I said I'd never really realized that it was a secret. Like people are like, "So why didn't you come out?" And I'm like, didn't know I had to.
Yeah,
like,
you don't have to. Yeah.
I didn't lie. Like if you asked me, I told you.
Yeah.
Women Crush Wednesday is the thing. Like I will tell you. Brian told me, he said there were days on the Las Vegas Strip, he said that you watch girls walk by and you were like, like you looked like I did. He was like, you were people watching with a little bit more intent. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I never lied. I just never said, I just never said. It wasn't a thing that I needed to say, I didn't think. I didn't lie about it. If you asked me, I was like, well, she's freaking gorgeous.
That's something that I always say to my friends about is I'm bisexual. I'm openly bisexual. I check out women all the time. My husband will show me pictures of women that he finds attractive, and we both just like, okay, yeah, I like that. And I can't be mad at him when he goes and checks out a woman because I'm looking too.
Well, me too. And for him, he's like, I understand, like he understands like certain, even certain guys that I'm like, we went to a convention and I met Dean Cain and I said, I absolutely, I stood in front of him and I'm like, I am a little part of me right now is dying inside. The 16-year-old me is just dying to squeal and be ridiculous. And I said, but I'm 35 years old, so I can't. So, but I don't have anything smart to say to you right now. So I'm just going to bask in the glory that is you. Mm-hmm. And he laughed his ass off and sat there and talked to me for 10 more minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And then turned to Brian and said, do you care if I hug her? And Brian said, she'll kill me if I don't let you. So there was an understanding. So it wasn't like I didn't have to be all handsy because there's pictures. So there's truth to God. I didn't get handsy, but I held on a little longer than I should have. And
remind me after the show to tell you about my run-in with Barbara Luna.
I'm sure we all
little face there.
I don't know. He's like some kind of sad face thing, or oh, never mind.
He's a thinking. He's a thinking.
But he already knows his is Scarlett Johansson, and I can't be mad at that.
We all have that. We all have a list of celebrities that we would leave our significant others for.
Called the runaway.
I'm gonna say it right now, Johnny Depp. I would leave my partner if Johnny Depp would call me tomorrow and say, "Come hang out with me." I would leave.
Yep. Nathan,
I actually got to meet one of my runaways.
Last season's Batwoman. Definitely.
Really?
Yep.
Really? Yeah.
I like that. Thank you.
That and Tia Carrera.
But this season's Batwoman is attractive too, but last season there was just something about her. I was like, yep.
I'm an old man, so if I say anything, I come across as creepy.
Mine is pink. It will always be pink.
I can respect that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Carly.
And I'm real dorky. I don't think I'd leave either. I'd be like, what would I? For me, I'd be like, I don't even know what I would do with this. Like, this is an open situation. I'd be like,
I would put in the paperwork for the hall pass.
Feel like you call me up and be like, this is your open invitation to join, and I'm like, like I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be like, I know how everything works, but I don't know how it work. How would I make it work with you in the same room? Like, you can say that you'd climb him like a tree, but that's not going to happen because I'd be like, I don't know what to do.
Having met, actually, I met two of my runaways actually, and they're so different than what you expect. Okay, because you're seeing them as the characters in most cases. Okay, and then you run into them in real life, and it's such a disappointment. I gotta say,
Most of the time.
I was not a disappointment.
LeVar Burton is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. But one of my runaways was Terry Hatcher.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, now for me it was because of Lois and Clark, right? I didn't get into that whole Desperate Housewives, but I got my ex-wife took me to go see her when she was in Cabaret. And I got to meet her at the back door and got an autograph, and I was so disappointed in her personality. It's just, I mean, she was been nice enough, but it just wasn't what I was hoping for. Like I said, don't meet your runaways, okay? It will destroy everything.
Wait, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So I actually met one of my runaways. He is the current international Mr. Leather. He is a trans man. He's one of, I think, 3 POCs who in the leather world that has held this title. And I met his predecessor, and I was like, James Lee, absolutely gorgeous man. Gorgeous man, great personality. And then I met Jack. And the difference between the two of them was night and day. Jack is this very soft-spoken, like, you just want to pick him up and put him in your pocket kind of guy. He's very petite. And I didn't know, like, I had seen him, I had heard about him, I had listened to him speak, and I was like, I just want to pick you up, put you in my pocket, and run away with you. And I finally had the chance to sit down with him. And I was actually doing his boots. And we got to talking. We got to talking, and I still, at the end of it, I was like, I still want to pick you up, put you in my pocket, and walk away with you. And he's like, well, you could pick me up and walk away with me. And I'm like, okay. And I took this as an open invitation to literally pick him up, put him over my shoulder, and walk out the door. I stopped when I got outside and put him back on the ground and said, that was really fun, thank you. But getting to meet those celebrities, like even in my own community, it's a once in a lifetime thing. But at the same time, they're people. And I got to hear about the history that he's gone through and being, Leatherman of color and being this guide in our community and this face. And he's like, you would not believe the amount of women who have contacted me. And I'm like, wait, what? But we all know you're gay. Like, I knew he was gay, and he's made it quite, well known that he's gay. I'm like, I just want to pick you up, put you in my pocket, take you home, and feed you.
Hey, listen, I'm as straight as it comes, but there are certain gay men out there I would jump in the sack with. Okay, so
it's just it was so nice to sit down and have that conversation with him, and he did not live up to the image that I had in my head of him, because I pictured him as a lot taller.
That's always a problem. Is your runaways always you think they're taller, and they're so much shorter.
He's like 5'1" or 5'2". I felt like I was towering over him. I was wearing heels, and I'm only 5'3" without them.
One of my customers, I've always dealt with him in the drive-thru, and I always had this image in my head of him being like Lex Luthor. Like he always wore nice suits. He was bald, and I just for some reason I had him pegged as someone like Lex Luthor, right? And he came into my store one day, and I'm like, wow, I thought you were taller. I'm just like, shut up, Sheila, shut up.
I was fortunate. I got to escort Aaron Gray. Okay, and for those of you not old enough to remember Buck Rogers, Aaron Gray was Colonel Deering, and she wore these jumpsuits. And I was going through puberty at the time of the jumpsuits. So, I'm going, wow, girls. And I was so disappointed to find out that Aaron Gray is 5'2", because when you see on TV, I always thought of her as this 6 foot tall Amazon, and I was so disappointed, but I was glad to have met her,
Yeah. But Allie, I apologize. I haven't heard too much about your experiences, and I definitely am interested in knowing more about you. So I want to give you the floor right now. So
I need a bit more guidance than that.
Sorry, we were talking about like our list of celebrities that we would leave our significant other for. Do you have
my brain cannot come up with any. Like, I've never been able to make an actual list for that. Like, everyone does it, and it's just like my brain goes blank, and it's just something about my brain just goes, nope, whatever.
About 10 minutes after the show, you'll come up with a list.
Did you have you go to conventions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your favorite convention experience?
Well, I think I've mostly just gone to Comic-Con. I think I was supposed to go to KeyCon, and then something happened. It's always really fun. Like, I went as Miro from Legend of Dragoon.
Okay.
Which it's a pretty revealing outfit. It's basically a bikini. And I remember, like, there's, of course, those creepy guys following around, and next thing you know, girls. Just, like, a bunch of girls blocking their view and, like, making it impossible for them to get close, and it's just, like... And then you all just sort of gravitate to the next person that they're going after, so that, like, you sort of just make it impossible for the creeps to surround any of them.
That's what I like about that.
There's a definite sense of community with the girls, because we've all experienced at Comic-Cons and like cons in general. So you all just sort of like group together to make sure you're all safe.
Yeah.
So like even though there's the bad parts of the community, the others make up for it.
The problem is, like, a lot of the bad part of the community ends up coming out after the shows, and then you get like the weird messages. Oh, I saw you walking around. I really liked your costume. You have a nice ass, or and it's just like, or like, thanks for showing me your cleavage, and it's just like, I wasn't doing that for you.
And unfortunately, with like the aftermath of the cons, when people message you like that, there is no barrier. They weren't able to bug you then, so they've now usually an anonymous account that you're pretty sure is a fake name, or like TikTok is really bad for like user blah 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 blah. And then they'll hide behind that fake name so that they can do what they weren't willing or capable of doing in public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have something that I say on a constant basis. I dress for me, and I mean, Joe will tell me to dress in, like, on occasion, wear a certain outfit because he likes seeing me in it. But you know, about the only time that I'll dress sexy is wearing my Elvira costume at a convention. And that's for my purposes, not for anybody else's.
Yeah, I barely take my husband's advice on what to wear. I don't dress for anyone else.
Again, my wife gives me the eye roll, you know? So, you know, I've learned a long time ago, you know, all right, I'm done, you know?
Well, if you've trained them well, then you don't necessarily know whether to take their real advice or not, because if you've trained them well, everything looks good. And so you can't ever really tell if they're honest or not. So like, I'll say, so do you like this? After 15 years, he's gotten a little bit better. So like, I'll say, so do you like this? And he's like, I don't like the color. And I'm like, really? You don't like the color? And he's like, no, I don't like the color. I think it'll look gross on you. And I'll be like, oh, okay, well, we got a little bit of some honesty there, which I can deal with, because then I tried it on and I was like, oh yeah, he's right. And I hate it when he's right. Like, I often say I hate it when he's right. But
do you guys ever let your significant others do the clothing shopping for you?
No.
No?
Not full on.
That is a hard no.
I've let him pick items. He's not that bad at it. He's not that bad at it. I've let him pick items because he'll like be like, hey, I think this might look good. And there's been a few times where it's like, holy crap, this actually looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my
There's
wife
other
buys
times
a lot
where
of
it's like, oh god.
Yeah, everything I'm wearing today, my wife bought. Okay, so, I'm sorry.
No.
I've tried engaging him in telling me how I look. He's calculated. And probably because a lot of men believe that sort of question is a trap.
Yes.
And so that being said, I like his constructive criticism. We were in Victoria's Secret a few years ago. He was the one buying me the outfits because I'm a mom and I let my items fall apart and I resew them and then they fall apart and then they disintegrate. You know, and I don't go replace them. So he was buying me some of the new stuff and oopsie, he was telling me, okay, that bra, no, you're popping out too much. I know you're not going to be comfortable and I know the strap's squeezing you, so let's go get a different size or something like that. And then finally I was actually trying to get his reaction. And I finally was like, okay, Greg, you're going to tell me, is this turning you on or not? And I said it just loud enough that all the other girls in the change room started giggling hysterically. And I'm like, sorry, I didn't mean to say it that loud. And I think it finally, I'm like, I love your honesty. I love your criticism, but I would like to know, do you like it? Like, do you like it? Do you want to see me wear it more often for you and me? Because I know I like it. What about you now? So he's calculated and he has to be convinced to start opening up and be honest for what he likes as well. And I just reserve that judgment just for him. Honestly, anybody else, I'm like, well, whatever, that's you. I'm doing this the rest for me, you know?
I on occasion, like when I do go shopping, I'll send a picture of an outfit that I saw. I'll take a picture of it. And there was one time where I took a picture of something like a new bra or something and I was laughing about it because it just like lifted everything up. And I sent it to Joe while he was working, and without thinking, I'm just like, I'm gonna end up causing him to crash his bus one of these days.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I've done that. So my partner, she's a gamer. Okay.
Uh-oh.
When we were first starting to date, I sent, because I needed new outfits for being Madame Queer. So here I am trying on lingerie, I'm trying on bustiers, I'm trying on corsets, and I found this corset, and it was a floor-length skirt. Absolutely fell in love with it. I felt Victorian in this.
Oh, jeez.
And I sent her a picture, and all I get back is, "You made me drop my phone." And I'm like, is this a good thing or a bad thing? She's like, "I had to wipe drool off my phone, so we're good." And I'm like, thank you. That is the greatest, best response I've ever gotten to of what I felt comfortable in. Because I have the corset too.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
So all my corsets lay flat packed in their own individual bags still.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Hold on. There we go. And it was a black floor-length skirt.
Very nice.
Do you get your corset specialty made for you, or
Corset Story, because I can't afford custom made just yet. I got this one for $85.
It's like she knows that we're talking about lingerie. Hi, Heather.
Well, this is about her time, though, because this is when she ends up online a lot.
Yeah.
Right about now.
But yeah, so Heather Ellen used to. I got tagged. Okay.
And tagged her.
She used to work in the lingerie departments. Her family actually owns lingerie or made lingerie. I'm getting my information wrong. I'm so sorry, but yeah, she. But yeah, she does a show where she promotes all the creatives online. So, Comics and More, New Jersey, and Comics and More Chaos. So glad to see you.
So my ex-wife, back when we were dating, she was working at one of the big named retail department stores, and they moved. Okay, they move people, in department stores. They move people from different departments, and she ended up in the lingerie department, and she ended up saying something to a number of customers, and suddenly the sales in the department skyrocketed, and the manager wanted to know what she said, and she said to all these women that were buying the sexy lingerie, she says, "Who cares how it looks on you? It's how good does it look on the floor."
Oh.
apparently sales went up. Okay. So I don't know,
That's an interesting way of putting it.
So apparently she made sales and got, very happy management, So.
But yeah, I'm so glad that we did this show together. You guys are all fantastic. Thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with me tonight. Nicole, where will people find you online?
So you can find us every Saturday at 2:15 on Reels and Heels. We broadcast on the HWWS web. Yeah, words. Anyways, that. There. every Saturday at 2:15. There's a show this Saturday, which I will probably be late for my own show. And then you can find me I'm on Facebook and Insta at Stargazer Mama. And then also Comments in the Classroom, Florida. And there will be a new show starting relatively soon. I don't know for sure when, but it'll be all things education and education realms. But essentially, I love topics like this that kind of get us all talking about stuff that's important to us and bring a whole wide range of people into it. Because I think it's something that we've seen on all sides. And
that's why I like doing the show, is because it breaks the ice on a lot of subjects that need to be talked about. And yeah, I mean, pillow talk, yes, it has a sexual connotation, but at the same time, it's talking. Talking about stuff that needs to be talked about. But I appreciate you guys coming out and being honest and true. And I'm glad to allow you guys to be yourselves here on the show at any time. If you guys have a topic, you guys are more than welcome to come back on and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Ivy, where can we find you online?
Well, most on Facebook, you can find me under IVP Winnipeg, model cosplayer, mom extraordinaire. Another one, and I just reopened it, so you're going to see nothing but old content and a lot of kitty content, is my Instagram, which is it's at Matlock Francis, and then my Twitter account is IVP Winnipeg. So
okay,
that's where you can find me.
And Ellie, where can we find you on social media?
My Instagram is Ms. Darkness. Nothing too exciting there, just random stuff. And then my TikTok, it's a mixture of like native stuff and actually witch stuff.
Oh, okay.
And that's Princess of Darkness.
Okay. Definitely something that we need to touch on for a future subject is the witch stuff. Jerome, where can we find you on social media?
God, it's where can't you find me? Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock, I co-host the Saturday morning cartoons. This week is Failed Cartoon Pilots. I have no idea what Rose is up to, but we'll see what it is. Every other Friday, including starting this week, you can find me on Friday night at Classic Television Smackdown. This week's topic with guest host from Garrett is the 1970s variety shows. So get your bell bottoms out and polyester and everything else that you can think of from the 1970s. We're going to cover it. There's been some horrors that I've seen already.
Oh, that's fantastic.
From my childhood. You can find me on Facebook as Jerome Connor. You can find me on Instagram as Hood1707. I think on Twitter I'm listed as Connor Hood1707. I don't know. I'd have to go look. And somewhere out in the grand ether, there is a MySpace page of me somewhere, but I don't know where that is anymore. So that's pretty much where you can find me.
All right. And Charlotte, where can we find you on social media?
On Instagram, I am Dragon Swain, DragonSwain. And that also goes for my Twitter as well. You can also friend the Madame Cuir page, which is MMECUIR Montreal. And you can also friend me on Facebook under Charlotte Elizabeth Mickelson-Weeb. Gotta have the longest name. Have to. So feel free to friend me. I give everybody one chance. I tell you no, then I kick you.
Yeah. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm the program director for Hanging with Web. I don't know how they allowed me to do this on a daily basis, but
and you're doing a great job.
I'm trying to keep track of everybody's show, and then of course I have like I'm trying to keep track of all the the Rising Tide shows too. So I'm doing like double duty and triple dipping the dip over here with helping out back of the cereal box too. So, but I'm enjoying this podcasting stuff. It's super fun. You can find me all over social media. I am the social media socialite. Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. Yes, there's even a MySpace account somewhere around there as well. And I appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with us here. Again, you're welcome to join us at any time. I'm gonna play this compilation video to get more subscribers.
I'm GW Pomager.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
Abba.
It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys,
please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe to HWWS
Web TV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
and videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon. So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
And get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million, and 10 million, and 100 million.
On HWWS.
Web TV.
You really like it. I guarantee it.
Thank you.
So yes, Mittens just wanted to say hi to everyone before we leave, but
I just went and friended the page. So
excellent.
Yay.
Thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in. You guys can stick around for a little bit once we're off here. So don't show your butt. So I'm sorry. Next time I will that we invite you on. Next time we're having a conversation like this. All right, you guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in. Love ya.